Welcome back to American Agenda. Well, the World Economic Forum recently released its global risks report for 2024, and misinformation and disinformation, specifically from artificial intelligence, topped the list ahead of both extreme weather events and societal polarization.
Yeah, this is a big problem here, and joining us now to discuss how AI could affect the race for 2024 is tech and cybersecurity expert for the Pioneer Development Group, Christopher Alexander, and policy director of the American Principles Project, John Schweppe. Christopher, I'm going to start with you. Just talk about how important it is to decipher what's real and not as we head into this election cycle. The way I understand it is AI can make it look like people you know are saying things that are completely false and made up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Christopher. Yep, you're up.
So the only solution that really is available is going to be a counter AI capability. And this is a huge challenge, and it's a really deep concern because it is getting harder and harder to tell. I think the Pope Balenciaga and the Taylor Swift La Crusade incidents, if we want to call them that, highlight what can happen. And when you move into an election cycle, you have fast breaking news, you have a 24-hour news cycle, everyone wants to be first, and it just creates that pressure that makes you less likely to realize you're looking at something that isn't real.
I think that's a great point. And Christopher, what you pointed out there, I want to explain in case people aren't sure. As you said, AI made headlines this week in the pop culture world, but it was the daughter of late comedian George Carlin. She slammed an AI-generated comedy special made in his name. And then Taylor Swift fans were duped by an AI version of the singer endorsing a fake Le Creuset cookware giveaway. That sounds like something we can laugh off, but John, it actually can be very serious, especially, again, when we're talking about things like an election.
Yeah, I think when it really comes down to it, liability is going to be the big concern here with AI. When you're dealing with real individuals, we're responsible for what we say. And so if I defame somebody or if I, violate copyright law or whatever, John Schweppe is responsible for that. But what we're seeing with these AI machines, they're tools effectively, the companies don't want that liability. And I think it's going to be really critical for Congress to kind of figure out what we're going to do here, because as these AI tools, hallucinate and say all these crazy things, obviously somebody should be held responsible for that.
Christopher, how can the consumer, we the people here, decipher through what's real and what's not, know what to believe and what's not? This becomes so convoluted here, and I want people to be able to understand what it is they're actually seeing.
I think the only real meaningful guideline right now for people is look around the edges, look at the person's mouth while they're moving, the edges of the image or the person. A lot of times it's just a little bit too crisp, a little bit too bright. Again, the Balenciaga Pope one for people to look up is a great way to see that. You kind of have to train your eye to it. When you see enough of it, you'll start to recognize it. But again, who wants to, spend an hour looking at fake versus real images and become their own disinformation spotting expert? It's part of the challenge. And I would add, an even bigger issue is that AI produces this content at incredible scale. So it's not just one person saying something and spreading disinformation. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of accounts that are proliferating and doing it at a speed that we can barely even keep up with.
John, last question for you. We have about 30 seconds left. AI is something that we know will be in the future for everyone across all industries. It does good things, advances in medicine. But at what point can you decipher the good from the bad? Should there be checkpoints on certain things and wide open pioneering for others? How do we figure this out? How do we figure this technology out?
Look, I think we have the big tech revolution to point to as an example of some good things and some bad things that happened. And certainly, I think we need some oversight on this. We shouldn't be giving AI tools to our kids and just hoping for the best, right? Ultimately, we need to have some regulation on this. And so I think it's critical that Republicans and Democrats set partisanship aside for a little bit and just try to explore, how can we chart this forward? We know Silicon Valley is just going to break things, right? That's what they do. So we need to make sure that we're guiding this and not, destroying our economy and destroying our country in the process.
Yeah, this shouldn't be something that we're torn over here. Both sides should come together, get a handle, and make sure we know what it is, what we're dealing with. Christopher, John, we appreciate you coming on and giving us that insight.